Welcome back to the Living for His Glory podcast. I'm here with another amazing special guest of mine, Sam Hickman. I met Sam last year. We were both students at Trevecca. She has since transferred out, but I've really enjoyed getting to know Sam. I've really enjoyed just hearing her story, and me and her have continued to talk throughout the year. And tell you what, man, she's really helped me out with some of my stuff. I've helped her out with some of hers, and we've just become really good friends. And Sam, I believe you're the first woman that we've had on the podcast ever. So I'm actually really excited for this. You're the first female to be on the Living for His Glory podcast.
First of all, so excited to be here. So excited to get into the word and get into some of the good stuff that I've prepared for today and that God's kind of laid on my heart. But second of all, the fact that we even became friends in the first place was such a by chance and ordained thing by God, let alone me being at Trevecca at all, was such an on time God kind of deal. And I can't wait. I'm super excited, man. It's going to be great.
Yeah, it was strictly by chance.
By chance. I look back on it and sometimes I'm just like, all right, God, if that's how you want it to go.
Yeah,
Truly random.
it was. I remember I was just chilling in my dorm and I was tired from practice, and David called me and he was on the podcast a little over a month ago
David's
now.
sick. We love David.
Yeah, his episode came out about 2 months ago now.
Oh, his is
And
so good. I
he
love his
called
episode,
me.
dude.
Yeah, he wanted a spot for his bench, and I came in, I spotted him and met you, and it was just a chance thing, man. And we just things kind of grew
Exactly.
from there.
And the only reason I was in the gym that day, I was in track season and we had all of our team workouts. Like we weren't supposed to be in the gym by ourselves. I had injured myself like right out the gate with the season. So I had to go in there and do my recovery stuff. And it just happened to see you in there chilling. And
Yeah.
then again at the library, and that's when you hit me with you want to talk about Jesus? You want to work through it because you're obviously going through it. And since then, I don't think it stopped. I think it's been the whole dynamic. Just me crash out a little bit, we get in the word and be like, hey, we're gonna chill. We're gonna chill out a little bit.
You make me sound like an A-tier evangelist, man.
Sometimes you sound like it.
Sometimes I have my moments. I have some
You have your moments. What can I say? All credit to you, man.
have my moments where the Holy Spirit just works through me. Not my credit, but His.
That's the truth. The disciples would say the same thing.
Absolutely. Sam, as everybody here listening knows, if you're a regular listener, we are super big on stories here. We love
Hmm.
stories, love getting into stories. We believe that stories are really what changes us. Stories are really what form us. After all, our Bible is written as a story. It's a narrative. It has a narrative. It has history. In history, we tell stories. It's not just a lecture. It's these things that actually happen and how they work together for the big reason that they happen, which is, as we know, living for God's glory, which is where this podcast name comes from. And I know for a fact that you have a really good story, and I'm very interested to see what you have specifically chosen for us today. So I'm going to hand the reins over to you and let you get into your story. And man, we're just going to have an amazing conversation.
All right, let's do it, man. In all honesty, I looked at my testimony's kind of broken up into three parts, and I chose how I wanted to do it, which one I wanted to use, because everybody's got a story. Everybody's got multiple stories. I know like a handful of people that have it way worse than I do, or way more faith profound, or living to just this perfect image of God. And sometimes you look at yourself and you're like, man, who am I to speak? 'Cause we all screw up, some more than others, but like part of it. Growing up, I was always word of faith, very faith based household, not your average Baptist environment. It was a little bit wild over here. I was homeschooled. I was early on diagnosed with a lot of illnesses that didn't really make a whole lot of sense. My sister, she was born perfectly normal, no issues until about 4. And I literally watched her die in front of me and come back. And that was the first miracle I ever witnessed. I would have been about 8. She was exactly 4. And from there, between me and her, the way that faith was represented was something so vastly beyond what we could ever understand. It was just different than your textbook faith. So from there, it builds till freshman year. Got into volleyball. I was always an artist. I was big into just everything in the word and faith. Went to all the church conferences. I was the cookie cutter, homeschooled, no real in life or social life. I just loved Jesus and that was all I cared about. Volleyball came into my life. It was this rinky dink homeschool volleyball team, like in basketball shorts, home like as sheltered as it got. God, I sucked. It was so bad to the point of just embarrassment. But that was the first time that I would say, not that I tasted dirt, because there was a lot going on, but it was more of my personal, this is up to me. This isn't up to faith. This isn't something that is way out of my hands. This is up to me. Do I want to get good at this? So around my sophomore year, after that season, we had girls playing with us that were already D1 commits in high school. These girls were so incredible to watch and play with. It was amazing. And it woke something up in me. And so from there, it was this, okay, I'm going to do this. It's my purpose. And my purpose it became. Everything revolved around it. And I loved it. It was this like 50-50 walk. Prayer and fasting, volleyball practice. Prayer and fasting, volleyball practice. And I watched as my faith took my career to this different place that people didn't understand. Instead of it being like a fleshy thing, it was a coach looking at me saying, this is never going to happen. You're never going to do this. And God saying, watch. Like everything that was ever expected of me was flipped. And it was fantastic, man. It was such an amazing walk to walk. Like the top club in Alabama, I never in a million years thought I would get there. But my junior year, made the team, traveled all around the world, went to Chicago, went to Kentucky. We loved it. It was amazing. So around it would have been my senior year, my parents split, which was wasn't unexpected, but it did hit harder than expected. So from there, I would say that was the first time that my faith really truly fell off. Like I'm talking questions, right? And it wasn't just my questions. It was I was working full time. I was looking at recruiting and I had all my sports recruit stuff and I'm looking at my senior year and I'm just sitting there and I'm like, all right, here are my plans, right? I'm gonna go on a scholarship, I'm gonna love it and it's gonna be great and I'm just gonna live and get my exercise science degree. Like we are in there, we're gonna do it. This hits. My mom and me and my sister move out. Everything is destroyed. Everything falls apart. Cam, my little sister, she's looking at me with questions that I don't know how to answer for the first time in my life. My mom, she's struggling. My dad, he's hurting. And I'm just sitting here and I'm like, where's it at? The same God that can take me from this sick little kid who can't do nothing to this all around athlete can't seem to balance out my personal life. When did this happen? When did this come in? When did we decide that this was allowed? I thought we were like chill like that. Apparently not. So from there, I'm keeping it on the up and up. I'm getting involved in churches in my area, trying to find somewhere for my sister, and I'm just watching my sister rebel. Cam has never rebelled, ever. We were Sam and Cam, the homeschool kids. He just didn't think much of it. I'm watching her and the people she's around, and I'm working full time in restaurant at the Olive Garden by my house. I got these buddies. We're gonna play volleyball. I'm just watching her, and I'm like, "Hey God, you got that? Because usually you got that. It don't look like you got it." And I'm watching and I'm looking and nothing's getting any better. And I'm like, it's supposed to get better. Your word says it's supposed to get better if we do what you said. So I'm doing what you said and it's not getting better. Slowly, it's like a graph, it slowly declines. So around that time, I get involved with a Nazarene church. I did not know what Nazarene was. I still don't really understand it. I had some old family friends. I'm so thankful for that church. That church got us through some stuff for a minute, for a hot minute. We started going there, and I decided, I was like, okay, here we go. This is going to be the place. My mom's going to do what she needs to do. I respect that she's going through it, and she's going to have her space. And my dad, I don't understand it, but I'm going to let him do his thing. All I can control and help is Cam. Cam's my buddy. Cam's my pal since day one. We're going to figure this thing out, and we're going to make it. So get to the church. Met him through volleyball in our little park over here. We start going and it's all good and dandy and great and it's all the events and I'm like, we're safe, we're fine. We go tour Tribeca, pick up, move to Nashville, Tennessee. This is great. I get to escape. I get to get out of this. Maybe not deal with my issues first, but run. Sounds pretty good. Sounds pretty good to take all of this fear and worry and anxiety and just book it, just run from it. This is exactly what I did. Got offered a volleyball scholarship. I got offered track. Never done that before. I can run pretty fast, so seems like the move. I got friends going over there since childhood. This is totally the move. Stuff here just gets crazier. And I'm looking at Cam, I'm like, you good? She's hitting me back with the, yeah, I'm fine. I'm just watching this child like change. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna trust that you're good. Can't control them. I'm just making sure I get over there. And I'm thinking that this is it, that this is the promised land. Did I pray about it? No. Did I check his word? No. Did I just decide that this was some sign? Yes. Book it, get over there, and I have just, this is heaven on earth. This is great. For 2 months. For 2 months, it was absolute bliss. And then it hit. If you are not in alignment, like your back's out of alignment, you're not going to know until it's too late, right? It was a hard, oh no. Slowly it spirals. Started with little things. Like all of a sudden, I can't play volleyball. Something's off. Everything I do is off. Mentally, I'm off. I'm starting to get depressed. I jump into a relationship trying to cling on to something to feel some kind of peace. Wasn't the move either. Now I'm in this relationship. I've got somebody. I'm dragging them on into something, into my mess because I didn't deal with it. Instead I just left. So now there's all this baggage. There's all this stuff. And on top of everything, I start getting incredibly sick for the first time in years. I had all of my issues in remission with diet and holistic medicine. I was great before I left. And I remember so vividly, it hit so hard. Around October was when it got bad. And that was around the time I met you. October, it hit. I broke up with the guy. I didn't even give him a full explanation why. I just knew that there was something wrong and I had to fix it. And the only way I knew how to fix it was to be alone. So, cut it off with him in a major that I don't understand. Science is not my thing, apparently. Sit in the library and having a come apart before an exam. And I'm sitting in the floor of the library because there were no rooms available. And here walks in the golfer guy that I saw in the gym earlier today. And I'm just sitting there and all of this despair and worry, and it doesn't matter how many times I'm throwing scriptures at it, nothing's making sense. Everything is just in shambles. And we have one conversation. We have one conversation. It was the first bit of alignment I had felt in that season. Talking about faith, talking about standards, talking about what you want in this life and how you're going to get there. So I leave, I go back, and I pray. And still, somehow, got some answers, but not enough. So we figure out, get to the hospital after about another, no, 2 or 3 weeks of just getting worse, getting really violently ill. My mom comes up, we go, get to the hospital, and we are basically figuring out that everything is out of whack. And this is the most sick that I've been and that I'm slowly dying. That was after first semester. We get it together, we get a plan together. I've got infusion appointments set up for my thyroid and liver because now I'm in like liver failure, kidney failure. I'm 18 at this point. I'm not even 19. I'm in the beginning and I'm sitting there and I'm just like, you know what? Womp womp, keep going. This has got to be something. I refuse to go back. Whether I felt called to come back home, was I going to? No, absolutely not. I was dead set on that. I wanted this, so it was going to happen. Come home for winter break, start to work on it, start to get better. I go back for spring, and somehow we walk into something that was worse than the fall. All begins with the same cycle. I'm talking to another guy. I'm so set that, it's again that hyper attachment that I can hold on to you. You can pull me out of this. I'm not going to look to God because I don't want the condemnation in it. I don't want the correction. I don't want somebody to tell me what I'm doing is wrong. I want to feel okay for a minute because there is no feeling okay about now. I know that my health is in disarray, my career is a mess, and my grades suck. I don't know what else I'm supposed to do. So I just roll with it. get another gut check when I get back to school, break it off with him. I'm like, yeah, no. Get involved in some churches, and my next coping mechanism was to jump into every church that I could find and pour out as much as I could. Not fill up, not go sit in a message and take notes and genuinely deal with myself. I'm talking running, feeding the homeless, going out on the streets and evangelizing, like jumping too far. So the next thing you know, I'm pouring out, I'm pouring out, I'm pouring out, I'm pouring out. I'm giving everything I've got to this. Then we got our chapels 2 days a week, and I am so burnout. I am so burnt out, not on Jesus, not on filling up on the word, but I was fried. At this point in my life, y'all, I was a different level of fried that I didn't know I could be. My health was getting worse, and I chose not to acknowledge it or do anything because nobody wants to deal with that. Now I'm sitting here and I'm trying to help people to feel something because now I'm super depressed. And I've never been depressed. If you know me, I'm loud, I'm funny. You don't get the depressed vibe from me. So now I'm super depressed and I cut my friends off and my friends are confused and my teammates, and I'm keeping everybody at this weird arm's length thing and nobody really knows what's going on. Halfway through this, went to a Monday night service. Tuesday was our chapel. Wednesday was a feeding the homeless. Thursday was evangelizing on the street. Friday was some other church event. I don't remember what it was. And that Saturday was my first attempt to end my life. That is not something I ever expected to have in my testimony, but it was. It was the first, it wasn't the last. And when I got to that point, I sat in my car and I told God, I don't want this life anymore. I don't want this vessel. These opportunities you've given me, take it. I don't want it. I tried to end it and you stopped it. Now, at this point, multiple times of trying that didn't work. So when you get to this point of surrender, you sit there and you just take it, let me end it, do something. I'm done. I'm totally done. So we get to that point and we just finish out that last semester. We get up out of there and I come home, and there were three people in my life that knew. Lucas was one of them, my mother was one of them, and then one other pastor friend of mine that knew. I come home and her and I have a long conversation. This one thing that I have prayed against was generational curses, and I don't know what anybody else here gets into about that, but like your family's lineage hunting you down, or like their issues hunting you down. And one thing that you watch when your parents are divorced and your home life's a wreck is, I just don't want to be like them. I just don't want to have the issues that they have. I want to be different. Neither of them went to a Christian university. I can be different. Y'all, my mom attempted in college the same exact way that I did. That was such a wake up call. Like, it was such this point of, okay, we got to make some change. We got to figure something out. And the confusion was, I'm throwing Christianity at it. I'm throwing religion at it. I'm throwing everything that I can think of at it. I should be better. It's not going to be better until you fill up on the word for yourself. So I come home. On top of everything, there were multiple sexual assault issues. There was so much that I could get into that just continued to pile on. So again, I'm sitting here and it's just like at the beginning of this journey where I'm going, God, all my life it's been something happens, I pray and it gets better. And I'm sitting here in this place, and the more I pray, it seems to get worse. Like, how is this happening to me? This has never been something to happen to me. How is this going on? So, get home, and the summer kind of kicks off, and it's this long process of hospital visits and doctors and blood draws and scars, and I'm just don't even know what's going on. I'm a babysitter. I'm spending time with the kids that I love being around and trying to fill myself, and nothing's really working. Until one day, I open my old journal. This is my old journal. And I start going through my old stuff. And I start finding old notes. And I'm just reading the way that I'm holding myself, the way that I'm talking. And the realization that your lens has changed and that God is no longer operating through you and that you're no longer in his upper right standing or spiritual walk is so humbling. That was my wake up call. That was the first time that I really realized, like, hey, you screwed up. You royally screwed up. You are in this place of such disobedience that you don't even see where the disobedience is anymore, or you do see it and you don't want to acknowledge it or deal with it. That's equally as bad. Promise. Promise it's the same result. So we go through, and I'm just in this zeal time of prayer. And our family takes this little beach trip. And I go down to the beach, and I've got a mentor there. He's a pastor who owns a surf shop. And he is a sick dude, man. He is awesome. Love him to pieces. And I go in and see him, and he stops me at the doorway, and he's like, "What happened?" He's like, "I don't know. Like, your light is so gone, and you are just so not yourself. What happened over there?" And I sit and I tell him, and he's bawling, like he is crying, and we're praying, and we're just sitting there, and it was this first moment of, okay, the rehab from the injury, this comeback, this pulling me back story. Just so happens that same week that we're there, Russell Brand and Sean Foyt. I don't know if you know who Sean Foyt is. He's a revivalist that I followed since I was, I don't know how old, forever. Go down on the beach, go in to listen to him, didn't think much of it. And they're baptizing people on the beach. So that was the day that I rededicated my life to Jesus in a radical revival sense. And that was the beginning of this chapter. And this chapter is now alignment and obedience. Now, something I want to highlight here, in order to be disciples, we are called to be disciplined. So without discipline, there is no disciple, right? The word isn't there, it doesn't exist. So the biggest takeaway from the season of my life wasn't what lineage is following me, what curses I'm never going to get out. They're going to follow me. I just want to be different. I'm going to go to the Christians. I'm going to do everything I can to be different and to break this and to just be that bloodline breaker. You're not going to do anything if you're not listening to what he's telling you. You're not going to do anything if you're not disciplined and diligent and obedient to his word. Isn't that the point?
Yeah. Yeah.
That is the whole point. So after the baptism, I called you that day. I said, dude, I got baptized. Everything's going to change. I feel so different. That
Right.
lasted 2 weeks.
Yeah.
2 weeks of feeling like I am just on top of the world. I am so much better. I am changed forever.
Before we go into that this next chapter, do you care if we do a little breakdown? Because we,
Go
we
for it.
we said a lot. A lot was, and I think you hit somebody with this.
Definitely.
There's a lot of stuff like that we've seen everywhere. Like so many people, you have a unique divorce experience because so many people that I've known, their parents get divorced at 5,
Yeah.
6. They're not 10 yet. Happened to you your senior year of high school. Maybe I don't know if it was right before you were turned 18 or around when you did.
Oh, I was 17.
Yeah,
I was 17, gearing up for figuring my life out, or at the time, recruiting, because that was all that mattered, you know?
yeah. And you started creating. You mentioned this attachment, and especially you get to Trevecca and you're talking to these men. You're desiring relationships with these men, and you get attached really quick, really early. And you mentioned, you said it was because I'm looking for something. I'm looking for something to
Mm-hmm.
cling on to. I'm not ready to face the truth. I just want to cling on to something that makes me feel good. And honestly, it's probably for the better that it was more in relationships or situationships that failed rather than in some kind of substance, because you
Mm-hmm.
very easily could have gone down that road, as many do. And you're talking about your first suicide story in that journey with that, and how you never even thought that would be your testimony. That started getting me to tear up a little bit because you're a dear friend of mine. It'd be a very sad day if I heard that you were
Mm-hmm.
no longer around, and I hope that day comes much later than today.
Yeah,
I hope we're old and have gray hairs when that day comes around. But
absolutely.
and I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about this. I'm thinking about the dysfunction in our world. I'm thinking about the
Mm-hmm.
people listening that can relate to that, especially like this little rededication thing. You
Mm-hmm.
felt good for 2 weeks. You're looking at it and it's like, how many people have had a rededication? And I know I have.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Rededication. And 2 weeks later, and I'm feeling good, top of the world, 2 weeks, and all of a sudden, life hits. Life
Oh, it
hits.
hits hard. It
Yeah.
hits so hard.
In my story, I got out of a relationship in high school that messed me up. And the whole reason that this relationship ended was because I decided I was going to break free of my chain of pornography.
Hmm.
And I was
Hmm.
instead going to be better. And then she left me because I had been watching it, and totally understand that because I talked about it a few weeks ago with my buddy Wyatt. He was on here, and we talked about just how killer pornography is and how much like
Oh, it is.
it really is cheating. You
It
might
is.
not be hanging out with another girl, kissing, sleeping, whatever, but pornography is cheating. So I
Hmm.
completely understood it. And for a couple weeks, I was like, I'm not doing it. I'm not
Hmm.
like I'm good. I'm on a roll. All of a sudden, I did it.
Boom.
I did
Boom.
it. And then it didn't stop there. Like I'd be good and then I'd fall. I'd be
Hmm.
good and then I'd fall. And it started snowboarding. And now all of a sudden I'm doing it more. And all of a sudden it's like I'm still in the chain, still in that
Hmm.
cycle of dysfunction. There's cycles of
Absolutely.
dysfunction. And you call it your generational curse. And that's so hard to break free from because not only has everyone in your family done it and been through it, but also they still have those beliefs. You pick
Hmm.
up on those beliefs because you're still growing up. And when you're growing up, you cling to your parents because they've taken care of you your entire life. You're learning
Exactly.
primarily from your parents, from your grandparents, from your family. Closest thing
Hmm.
you have. And so now your head works the same way that theirs does. And that's where a generational curse happens. And so we're looking at those and it's just another chain. Like my addiction and your generational curse, it's just the chain. And I come from a family where, and I'll have them on here, with my dad and my uncle, where they had a generational curse because my dad and my uncle, they grew up in a trailer home and now they're both successful entrepreneurs. They
Right.
had those and they broke free of those and they helped our entire family break free. We've talked about it. The one shows up in the family. My family got two ones, my dad and my uncle. They showed up and they changed my family forever. That's what you have an
Exactly.
opportunity to do.
See, and that's the hard part. And that right there, that is the part. Now, something to take note of, the relationship thing. I cannot emphasize this enough. I know it's a little bit different coming from a girl's perspective because this is a predominantly male podcast where it's always the guy's perspective. As much as that relationship messed you up, my first relationship was right before I left, and it crushed me. It crushed me because, again, it was another attachment, right? Any attachment, any connections, any soul ties, any trauma bonds. You and I talked about this the other day. They are so pivotal. That's why, if you look at stories like David and Daniel and all these great men of God, Esther, even the amount of time that they spent alone in prayer and fasting before these situations, this call, this big purpose that they were about to face is so crucial. And that's the part where obedience comes in. Now, who knows? Maybe it's not as much as we believe of or generational curses. If your dad and your uncle could break it, then maybe it's not. However, the way that I was raised, it 100% was. I've got drugs in my line. I've got alcohol. There's a teen pregnancy in there from my family's line that I've been raised knowing and in fear of all kinds of stuff, suicide, everything you could think of, which is crazy because the way that I grew up was we were the homeschool family on the block with the faith background. My mom was out on the street walking with her Bible, praying up and down. Like, that's who she was, that's who we were
Yeah. There's,
until everything fell apart.
yeah. There's an interesting line between loneliness and community because we're
Hmm.
encouraged to do both. We're,
Exactly.
we're encouraged to have both. And it's really tough to tell where that line is. And it might be different for other people. I'm an extrovert. Community is going to
Hmm.
be my thing. It's going to
Hmm.
be easier for me to do. Other people are an introvert. It's going to be easier for them to do. And so it's really important to be alone with God, to hear Him. Where is He speaking in my life? That's
Hmm.
why it's important to have that time. That's why we're encouraged as Christians to have that time alone in prayer and alone in the Word. But then again, let's look at the difference between Judas and Peter after the crucifixion. So the difference between Judas and Peter after the crucifixion was both betrayed Jesus. Judas betrayed him to Rome, and Peter betrayed him by denying him 3 times before the rooster crows. And both happened. Jesus foretold both, and they both happened. And so both of them betrayed Jesus. Both of them denied him. Both of them sold him out. What Peter did after that was he went back to fishing. And people can say, oh, he went back to doing the same thing that he did after Jesus. But he went back to his community. He
True.
had people around him. But what Judas did was Judas went alone. Judas shut himself out. He was totally alone. And what was the worst part, he didn't go alone with God, probably because he just murdered God. But so that was probably going on in his mind and heart, even though,
Yeah. Shame.
yeah, a lot of shame, a
Shame,
lot
fear,
of shame.
condemnation, that cycle when you're just
Yeah,
you're feeling the pity. There's nothing like when you're at that point in your life when you're feeling the pity and the pity's feeling you and you have two choices. You can either get your butt up and go take care of it and go deal with it with God and get before his throne and be like, "Hey, this is me, this is all of me. Fix it." Or you can sit there and you can feel it and you can wallow in it and you can, unfortunately I've been there. You can get into whatever you want to get into
yeah, oh yeah,
and you can feel it however you want to feel it
yeah,
because we've all tried all kinds of different ways, right?
yeah,
Whether it's self-harm or in your life or even substances or people or relationships or not even relationships, just intimacy, just something to feel something other than which you're in because you're already in sin with that amount of just pity. God
yeah,
says not to sit in that pity. He says to get up and you fight and you continue to move forward.
yeah. And Judas sat in that, and Judas sat in
He
that
did.
alone. And eventually, as me and you both know, Judas hung himself.
He did.
Judas took his life, where Peter got out of that and went back to his community. Let me ask you a question. I think we already know the answer to it. When you have been in places where you have attempted suicide, were you alone or were you connected to people?
You know what's really strange? And this is something I've explained to other people who were in the same situation. On the outside looking in, I was connected. I had not just one, but two athletic teams, best friends on both. I had a friend that would come over every night. We would go do restore therapy and cryotherapy and then come home and we cook and was meeting celebrities everywhere. Like it wasn't until that everybody left and I was sitting alone in my car. And we all love our notes app. That notes app is haunted, y'all. I wrote out a note. I sent it to my mom because obviously she wasn't there. It wasn't like I could give it to her. Sent it to her. I had the plan, and I was totally. I felt so hopeless. It wasn't just that I felt alone. I did feel alone. I felt like I had no other option. But I was tired of fighting, and that I was ready to just be done. And even now, obviously, if anybody understands, whether it be eating disorder recovery, been there too, but any kind of recovery rehabilitation you go through, that past is going to try to follow you. And you are still going to feel it to an extent. It's all about that overcoming. It's all about understanding that He is greater, that He created you to do better and to move forward. And I think maybe if Judas was truly a disciple, if he were truly diligent, he would have understand that just from being around Jesus. Could you imagine Jesus just being your homeboy, just like being around him and listening to him? Even still, it just depends on the person, and like you said, community, but not soul ties, and not people who are going to bind up with you and feel the same thing. Because now, not only are you feeling this way, but your best friend's feeling that way and y'all's main friendship is talking about this thing. So then this thing becomes bigger. I think it just depends on the person, like you
Yeah.
said.
I've been around people where we've connected on such a great level of loss and such a great level of pain. And I don't think that's inherently a bad thing because it's really good for somebody to see you. You want to be seen in your pain, and I think we as Christians should be like specialists at doing that. If I see you in your pain because I've been there too.
Yeah,
I've been in my pain and my sorrow and my remorse and my regret. And the difference is we don't stay there. That's a stage in the process, but it is not the end. And so many people treat it as the end and they never get out of it. It's just a stage. It has a time and a place. It's where we begin, but it's not where we end. But I've also been up,
absolutely.
and then I've been in communities where we acknowledge that and we confess to each other of, man, I'm struggling with this. This is hurting me. This is wounding me.
Mhm.
This is causing me so much anguish and pain, but and we're with each other in that. But then we go and we have accountability. Okay, what now? And it might be
Mhm.
easier because we're a group of men, and so men and men in general are trying to fix it and move forward in general. It's our conqueror nature. But
I will say this, as much as that is in men's nature, the women that I grew up around, we believed in one thing that was like our soul thing, the Esther anointing. And what's even crazier is that's how I was raised. My dad, you know this, anybody who's into movies, big into any of that, like when you watch Star Wars or Avengers or Hunger Games, any of it that inspires you, he was our coach in any sport we played for the longest. I was a CrossFitter. My obsession, even still, is working out, dieting. Now I'm getting my degree to be a nutritionist and a personal trainer and a coach because of that same reason. I had a Serbian volleyball coach, and it was always get up. Don't give me no excuse. You better not, because you're just wasting your time. We either get up or you don't. And that was the first time in my life, like you said, that you feel it. You like it. Honestly, part of you does like the way that it feels. It is a season. But I heard a pastor once say, don't put a period where God put a comma.
yeah,
Don't you dare end something that God's not ready for it to be over. And what's even cooler is if I would have ended it there, then the experience I had on the beach would have never happened. And y'all, that experience getting rebaptized by two people in faith that I have admired for the longest time was by far one of the most top tier experiences of all time. If anybody knows Russell Brand's work, I loved his movies growing up, and the fact that now he's a big Christian and this amazing advocate for faith is fantastic. But I told him they asked for my testimony, or they asked for my story. I gave him an abbreviated version, and they both teared up. And Russell Brand, he looked at me, and what I didn't know is that he had battled with suicide as well. So before he baptized me, we got to pray together. Oh, I don't want to tear up. I don't want to cry. It was the most that turnaround. It was an unplanned, completely ordained by God turnaround. And it changed everything. And maybe even still, those 2 weeks were bliss and it was perfect. And I still made mistakes after, I promise. It's a journey and it's long and it's exhausting. I came home and life started back up again. I ended up having another sexual assault scenario. The only difference was last time I felt angry at God and I didn't understand why. This time, with that spirit instilled in me and the right kind of community, I came home and I got plugged in with an amazing church out in Coleman. And I made a choice. I decided that instead of running to things, instead of filling myself up with false comforts, I was going to get the real truth and I was going to dig and I was going to find it and I was going to stand on it. And that's, in my opinion, that's the change. Whether you choose to isolate or find the right people, however you decide to handle it. I'm not going to sit here and tell you the right way because I sure don't know. I'm just taking guesses. I went back to the beginning of my journey, which is my training. I went back to volleyball. Now I've got an amazing coaching job with some wonderful girls. One's at a school, one's at a club. I'm in beach training right now for the upcoming beach season and school club ball with UAB. But it took, for any kind of peace to come about, it took me being honest with myself and looking at things like, hey, this has got to change. Like my language, gotta fix it. The way I hold myself, gotta fix it. The way I talk about myself and the way I put down on myself, not gonna fly. Those are the things when you follow his commandments and you truly get down to the nitty gritty. If you're called to a fast, it's food, it's social media, whatever it is, do it. Don't beat around the bush because I promise it's gonna be worth it. Like y'all, this week my grandfather went under open heart surgery. Y'all don't know, of all my family members, besides my mama, me and my mama are besties. Okay, we're super close. I am incredibly close to my grandfather. We are so similar, like eerily similar. And he went under this surgery, and I was called to prayer and fasting. I didn't know why. I didn't think much of it, y'all. I have had all kinds of stuff going on, so I just said, okay, we're just gonna throw my hands up and roll with it. Get into this prayer and fasting state, and we get there, and they're like, it's a routine heart surgery, no big deal, yada, yada, yada. We're here the night before. We have a massive family falling out. Nobody sleeps. We get to the hospital, and first half of the surgery, we're not hearing anything. Everything's going okay. This surgery ends up going double the time it was supposed to. there was something snapped. Like I'm telling y'all right now, I heard one time somebody explain that God allows trials for growth, and I didn't believe it until this. Those 4 hours, it was a 4 hour surgery, it went eight. The first one. He was supposed to have one, he ended up going under twice. This great man of faith, the reason I pursue ministry at all is sitting there wide open on a table and I can't do nothing about it. So my aunt, my mom, and myself are standing in this hallway, and my mom runs down to the chapel downstairs. Now, my mom, she's more of a feeler. She has a lot of emotions, and my aunt, she's the tough as nails. Nothing phases her. And I'm just there. I've got my Bible, I've got my oil, I'm sitting there and I'm just praying. I'm like, God, anybody but him. I asked you to take mine. He didn't ask for none of this. He's prayed for his 120 years. I need to see it. At least let him make it further than right now because we can't handle that. My mom comes upstairs and she's showing us these books, and she found the original Hebrew translations of the scrolls. So we're sitting there and we're translating it. My aunt and I read Hebrew, sitting there. We're just reading it and we're praying on it. And we start pacing the halls and we're just praying. My grandmother, word of faith woman, she is holding on. And we're just in there and we're praying. And we go back in there and they let us see him. And to see such a strong man physically broken, like physically breaking his chest open, that's a different level. That was another test of faith, but this time it made us all stronger. All of us had lost something. My aunt lost her husband to cancer 2 years ago. That was her faith, Everest. Okay. My mom, she lost everything. She lost her family. Now she's in these constant battles back and forth. Her job, she's been ill. She's been physically sick with the same disease as me. Now she's watched me try to take my life. God bless that woman. She has been through it. And here I am yet again asking God why. We're all sitting there, we're praying and pulling out my scriptures, and we go back to see him. And they're telling us about the surgery and everything and how it's going to go, and that they're going to go back in and do a routine cleanup. So we pray for him. And my grandmother, she grabs the surgeon and prays for him. And he starts bawling. Oh, core memory. He started bawling. He goes back under, and everything goes better the second time. And he wakes up yesterday. No, it had been the day before yesterday. He woke up completely like coherent. They were shocked and amazed by this man because he's a fighter and God was instilled in him. And yesterday I got to sit in his room and pray with him, and he prayed back with me and fully understood everything. And that was the point where I was like, okay, this is what alignment looks like. It's not turning to something because you're tired. It's not hooking up with somebody because you're tired of feeling a certain way. It's not picking up the bottle because I don't want to feel. In that moment of stress, I could have done the same thing I did, which is whatever. Coping mechanisms are temporary. Your faith is forever, and that's what's going to bring the right outcome. So that's my point in bringing that into it. The difference in the two situations of me watching everything fall apart in my personal life because I made excuses and chose not to handle it the right way, or sitting in the hospital for 8 hours praying, watching it come to fruition, and seeing genuine answers come about. I think it's deeper than any of us expected, but that's the point, isn't it?
Yeah. What has this whole experience, me and you've been talking a lot about your grandfather, a lot.
Yes, we are.
Rightfully so. It's a tough time for you and your family. You've had a
It
tough,
is because he's our rock. He reminds me a lot of you, Lucas, when it comes to your faith. You're diligent. This man, whoo, he's diligent. He's powerful.
yeah, I feel that. Like I know where I'd be right now if either my dad or my uncle was going through something similar and they looked a similar way. They've been my rocks. What have you learned about God in this time, in this summer, in this past year since October, with everything's been just hitting you?
Yeah.
Even before that, with your parents' divorce in your senior year, what has this whole journey, and you're not done with this journey yet, you're far from it.
Oh, that's the truth.
I'm sorry to inform you, you're far from done with this journey. Life still has a lot more for you. You're 19 years old. I'm 20. We got a lot to do. So, what have you learned about God in the midst of your struggle? Where has God shown up in your life?
You know, it's so interesting. There are so many ways I could answer that question, but I have Actually, I'm gonna pull up the scripture. I'm gonna pull up my root for it. He's not leaving you. He's not. It doesn't matter what you feel, what's going on. I promise. I don't know who needs to hear this. He's not leaving you. He's not. You're not listening. I didn't listen. I didn't ask. I didn't listen. I didn't hear him. And I blamed him and assumed he wasn't there. That's not how that works. That's just not. His promises are so vast. He wouldn't sit here and give us a book full of promises if he didn't mean it.
Yeah.
These promises don't change. Your obedience does. Your
Promises
diligence to the commandments do change.
These promises don't change. You change. Your obedience
Mhm.
changes. A month ago, we had Justin Aldridge on, and he says, whenever you have a relationship issue with God, it's never God, it's always you.
Always, because we're the ones with sin. In the
Yep.
garden, look at it like Adam and Eve. There were no conditions for anything to be screwed up. Zero, zip. They were in paradise, literal paradise. Like, no factors for error whatsoever. God Himself was in that garden with them, and they still managed to sin.
Yeah, well, people can ask. I've heard this question before. If everything was so perfect in Garden of Eden, then why was the tree like? Why was the tree there? Why was the opportunity to sin there if the garden was so perfect? And it was the fact that the tree was in the garden that made it so perfect. Because of course,
Exactly.
it was a perfect paradise. We were without sin. It was amazing. But how perfect would it be if we didn't have a choice? We can get mad at God all we want, but the fact that me and you have a choice, it says
That's the
so
deciding
much.
factor.
It says so much about his love. Like the fact that we have a choice shows us his love even more because if we didn't have a choice, if the Garden of Eden was never there and Adam and Eve could just do whatever they wanted, they never haven't had to choose the opportunity to sin. How would they even have the opportunity to love God if they didn't have the choice to not love him, to not obey him?
Let me ask you this, Lucas. Did you have a choice to tell her when you were struggling? You had two choices in front of you. You could have hid it and swept it under the rug to an extent where she would have never known, right? You could have continued in that web that you were in, or you were a man and you told her.
Yeah. Coach CJ, he was on here last week. Something that he said was, you don't have a choice. You have options, but you don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Because we were already like what we need to do, what we've been
Mhm.
called to do has already been said. You just have the option to not do it.
Yeah.
But this is the choice that needs to be made, that must be made. You just have the option to not do it. And so, are you going to decide to take the option to not do it?
It's the deciding factor. I'm gonna put it in golf terms. If you're up on a drive range, right, and somebody looks at you and goes, "Dude, why don't you use your putter? Your putter, I'm sure it could get the job." You're not gonna do that. You're just not. You're just not. You know the right choice is your driver, but what if? What if it's the same thing for me? What if didn't break off the relationships and I let it go too far and I kept holding on to it and I didn't make the choice to get out? What if I didn't decide to transfer and come home and be the bigger person and face my demons? Instead, I kept on in that lie in that web. What if I went through with it that night? Those nights, there ended up being 3 attempts. And every time I had an encounter, when you are faced with something like that and he's in the room, when you're about to do something like that and he's there and you know he's with you for the first time in so long, it is such an experience of just, how did I get here? That's the wake up call. It's like in a volleyball game when you're down by 15 and it's just the last set to 25. And you're sitting there and you're like, dude, we were just up by two. We just had to serve. What do you mean? How did we get here? All of life is going to be that way until you decide to humble yourself, bring your life into full alignment, then you'll see the promises. And that's the
Times,
only way to live as a Christian, in my personal opinion.
yeah. Sometimes you got life on the ropes and you're crushing, And all of a sudden, something happens the next round, next time, next day, whatever. Life got you, and life is owning you. And you go back to your corner, you go back to your home that night, and you're like, man, what happened? What happened? I was crushing it. I was making money. My faith was good. I was reading my Bible. I was doing everything I could do, but the results weren't there. Life still got me. God, I did everything that you asked me to do. I went into it with a good headspace. I went into it ready to kick life again. But life kicked me. What happened? What
Mm.
happened? Sometimes it happens. Like sometimes life is bigger than me and you. Sometimes we get it and sometimes we just don't. But guess what?
Life's bigger than me and you, but God's bigger than life because
Exactly.
he was the ultimate creator. So if we truly live by the word of his testimony and preach the gospel like we're created to do, then life don't get us because we got God. The ultimate cycle.
Yeah. At the end of the day, we win. And let me tell you, whether you did good one day and you do bad the next, at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter whether you did good that day in life or you did bad the next day. Because here's something that we need to realize.
Mm,
Nobody gets out of life alive. You
this is
don't
true.
get you don't get out of this earth alive. We all die. Like that
Oh,
may sound like fire and brimstone,
but it's
but
true.
it is true.
So true.
There's only been one person that ever got out of life alive, and it's Elijah. He got taken into heaven on
You
a
ready for something? You know what the best part that I'm so glad you brought up Elijah. I was in a space and after the fact I called a friend up and I was so ashamed of everything and I called him. He's the one who's got me at the church that I'm at now. I'm getting to serve in the kids. I'm so excited. I love that church. Called him up and I'm telling him everything and we were childhood best friends and I'm so ashamed of my past and where I've been. I'm like, straight up, man, I totally went out of character. I picked a new everything, tried to end my life, acted like a slut. I have done everything and I hate myself for it. And he hit me with Elijah prayed for death and asked for God to end it. He was suicidal.
That's
So are
true.
you saying that Elijah is on the same plane as you? I was like, no. Okay. You're born again. Pick up and move on. Next chapter, start over. And that was a lens shift to realize that there were people in the Bible who were suicidal is such a different way to look at it because in the culture that we live in, it's you're depressed, go see a therapist and take some meds. You won't feel anything. Or, hey, you want to end it? I got you some Prozac. Don't worry about it. You don't got to deal with nothing. You don't have to feel it. You don't have to deal with it. You just keep moving forward. They had the same issues then, but that wasn't how they handled it. He was a prophet.
Everybody wants to run. Elijah ran.
Yeah.
Elijah got ran out of town. Like the Israelites ran from Goliath until David stood up. And in every action, look at the judge Gideon. Like Gideon
Hmm.
ran. Gideon tested God until he finally stood up and did something. Like
Absolutely.
I talked again. It's another thing that came from Coach TJ's podcast last week. Like the most important thing you can do is just show up. Like whether for right or wrong, man, whether you made the right choice or whether you messed something up a bit, whether you said the right thing or you said the wrong thing, no matter what, show up. I've said a lot of wrong things to a lot of people. I've
Hmm.
messed up. I have said some of the worst things.
Yeah.
But man, you can't tell me that I did not show up.
Think about it this way. When Daniel was faced with the lions, oh, my favorite story. I love the Daniel story, man. He's sitting at the throne. The king's got him every food he could ever think of. This man is seeing red and wants to tear into it, but he's been called to a fast. So in that moment, he could say, God, you understand. I'm freaking hungry. And you've got this task in front of me. You're telling me I'm going to go in the lion's den and they're going to try to kill me. Like, I'm hungry. No, he stayed diligent. He was obedient. He went in that lion's den. He could have ran. Oh, golly, he could have ran. He could have booked it for the hills, never gone through with it. But what would have changed?
Absolutely nothing. We'd be robbed of one heck of a story.
Ain't that the truth, man? He slept with lions in peace. Do you know? Like, that is such a profound story to me because it's one act of obedience. It's one. That's all it takes. Esther going before her husband. She could have been murdered. She could have been killed on the spot.
Yeah,
Other wives were. Other queens were. But she had God on her side. So when she went into that throne room, authority had already been taken in the name of Jesus. That king was ready to do whatever she wanted. The whole Bible prophesies itself. Do you know
Hmm.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, but when you do look at the Bible, how it's so meticulously written and created, like, it's the script for your life. It's the script for everything that is to come and everything that will ever happen. That being said, if I drop a water bottle that wasn't like it was predestined to happen, I make choices. Just like I could choose to be disobedient and make choices to run off to Nashville, Tennessee and do all kinds of junk and then try to end my life and go, well, that was all part of the plan. No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Just wasn't. His plan for me, I'm sure, was much, much better and bigger had I been obedient and trusted the process than that, but he's going to use it.
Yeah.
You still tolerate me. So it worked out for something.
Sam, I have seen it in your life. You haven't seen it because you're in it, but
Yeah.
like from the out looking in and seeing your heart and who you are and how connected you are to Christ and to God, you're in a lot of stuff right now. And you're dealing with a lot of stuff, and it's made you act in whatever ways that it has. Me too. Life has a way of doing that to us.
Doesn't it? We're all
But
human.
what I have seen for you is there's not many people that God will use like He will use you.
Mm.
Everything that you're going through right now, we have covered so much of it. You have a lot of stuff that you've gone through, that you're currently going through. You're going to be able to connect and relate to so many people and tell them so many powerful stories and so many amazing testimonies. And and that's going to change their life. Like, God is going to use all this evil that's been in your life, all this destruction, all these chains, all these generational chains, all the chains that you've engaged in. He's going to use those. He's going to break you free of those, and
Hmm.
he's going to use those in your life. And I'm telling you, in 10 years, in 20 years, how like those are going to be used for his good. And you're
Mm.
going to look at them and you're going to be like, man, I went through a lot of pain. I went through a lot of discomfort. Tears were shed. Marks on my body were created. But that every step, every mark on my body, every bit of discomfort, every bit of pain is all going to work for His glory.
It is. And he's already been through it. He sweat blood in the garden before he ever even went on that cross. I'll never forget it. I don't remember what had happened. One day, I think it was one of the medical appointments, and I looked, and somehow, I still don't even understand it. I had a scar on the center of my hand and a scar on the center of the bottom of my foot. And I went home and I prayed and I was asking God, I was like, this is so weird. I don't even know where these came from. And I wrote it down in my journal that it was a reminder that he already took it for me. That every struggle that I'm going through right now, he took on that cross.
Yeah.
But my grandfather feels right now in that hospital as he's fighting and as he's doing better. And what's crazy enough, somehow some of the blood work that came back, and as of last night, by the way, I don't think I even told you this, has solved some of the medical issues I'm facing that they can't seem to find because we have the same genes. There is stuff happening that God's working through, and He's going to use all this for His good. But everything He's feeling right now, while His chest is broken open, He already took on that cross.
Yeah.
He already took it all. And that's the understanding that brings us out. And like you said, is going to make the story even greater. The kids I coach, the people's life I try to touch, and Lord knows the people's life you've already touched with your platform and who you are as a person. Who sees a random chick looking psycho sitting in the floor of a library and decides to go talk to her and minister to her and uplift her? Not many. You did though. And it was, oh God, I don't want to cry. It was life changing. It kept me where I was. Kept a lot of bad things from happening. Let me put it that way.
I'm glad God was able to use me in at least some way to help you. And you might not be there yet doing this podcast. You're already taking some good steps toward it, I think. But whether you have stepped into that yet or no matter what, you will. If you haven't
Mm.
already, you will. And I think you're taking those steps and God's going to use you in ways you can't even imagine. What we expect, what we want, it's like a drippy faucet. But what God wants and what God has planned for you, it's a whole riptide of
Preach.
amazing. God
Mm.
has an amazing plan, and God uses what the enemy meant for evil for his good.
Ah,
He didn't want those bad things to happen, but he's going to
he's gonna
use
use
them.
them though.
He's going to use them now that they have happened.
Preach,
It's
man.
going to be
Preach. It's I don't know. It's something when it shifts and changes and you feel it start to shift and you know you're in the right place at the right time. It's so beautiful. And even prayers along something we talked about last night. I was listening to Bryce Crawford. God, he's anointed. And he was talking about praying the prayer over people in your life or maybe somebody you're interested in or you can't get off your mind. And we're sitting, I'm talking to him on the phone, and I told him that I prayed the prayer, and he was like, it's such a deep and profound prayer, and it will change your life. Every word that comes out of your mouth that's in alignment with God is another shift, it's another change. It's 1 degree that will either put you in the right direction or somewhere totally different.
yeah, yeah. That's good. Sam, I think that is a great note to end this episode on. And for our challenge of the week, there's a lot of challenges we could have this week because we've covered a lot of things. But I think our main one is where you just ended that right there. You
Mm,
mentioned the word alignment. So, where does your life not align with God? Where does things not match up? And where is that causing havoc in your life? And where can you now be like, okay, I know I'm out of alignment here. I know I'm
mm,
not doing what I should be doing. So, God, where do I need to be aligned with your word? Where
mm,
do I need to shift? Where do I not need to run from shifting, but where I need to run toward it and deal with the discomfort and deal with the pain? Stand up and fight. I'm going to show up for me. I'm going to show up for you, and we're going to change. We're going to change my life, and that one day will help change somebody else's. Where
mm.
can we show up, deal with the discomfort, deal with the pain, and get in alignment with God and receive everything that He has for us? Sam, do you think that's a good challenge for this week?
I think that's an amazing challenge. And honestly, if you take it seriously and you really adapt it, get ready. It's about to get a whole lot better.
Absolutely. Sam, it was amazing talking to you. I'm sure we'll have, there's more things to talk about. I'm sure more things will happen. I'm sure we will have
Absolutely.
you back on here at some point. I can't wait for that day. It's going to be amazing. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Living for His Glory. I had such an amazing time making it, and I really hope it connected and impacted you on a significant level. I love making and recording episodes like these. I truly believe that they fulfill the Living for His Glory mission, which is to help you break free of your worldly chains and step into the person that God has called you to be. I love you guys. I hope you guys got a lot out of this. I hope that it changes something about how you do this week. I hope you have a good day and a good week as we continue to get ready for next week's episode. Have a good day, guys, and I'll see you later.